today, well, we've heard so much tonight today about responsibility of farming and making that connection between chefs and the produce, and I think it's always been like that. So I want to talk to you about something else, and that's a little bit different, and it's about the challenges of convincing people that what we do in the countries that we come from, and in the what's provided by nature is actually of significant value, and people should be paying a lot more money for it. Yeah, so that's so just to give you an idea. I'm the chef of a restaurant called Dewakan, and Dewakan is a portmanteau of two words. One is Dewa, which means God in Malay, and the second part is called Makan, which means to eat. And it doesn't mean food of the gods, that's not what it means, but it means food by the gods. And the premise is that our restaurant spends a lot of time trying to put together ingredients that come from our locality. And a lot of these ingredients have been lost, forgotten, and for so many reasons. And a lot of it has to do with how Southeast Asia has exponentially grown in terms of wealth, and the immediate reaction to that is to get things that we've never had before. So things like carrots and things like Wagyu and foie gras and la la la, you know, and all of that. And there's this obsession with that right now. And it has been for the past, I would say, 10, 20, 30 years maybe. What we've forgotten is things that grow where we live. And what we've forgotten is things that grow, like in where I come from, a lot of jungle, and we've forgotten things like that. So that's what the restaurant does, right? Bingo bango. Okay, so this is, well, I was supposed to talk about the restaurant when I had this slide on, sorry. Yeah, so I'm just gonna talk to you about a few ingredients just to give you sort of an idea, and all of these have got little special stories. This is what what is known as a tampoi. It's a fruit that is extremely acidic. It is also very hard to come by. They come by in seasons. And my discovery for this particular ingredient was quite heartfelt. Because of its very short window of like about a month and a half through when it is in season, you have to actually come and get it really, really fast. And then when you have these huge amounts of this fruit, and you cannot serve this all fresh, and you have to figure out what you have to do with it. This began one of the first steps, or one of the first premises of the restaurant, was to figure out what it is that you do with ingredients that you have no idea. And like what Ivan was talking about just now, when a restaurant or chef has been put in a situation where you have certain values and certain principles that you want to adhere to, but it's completely out of your norm. So when I started cooking, you use things like peach and you use things like strawberries, and then you're presented with a fruit like this. You couldn't serve this on a plate because it had challenges. Like it starts to oxidize the moment you open it. It starts to change flavors from the moment you get it in the first week of the season up until the end of the season, and it changes all the time. So it became one of the largest premises of the restaurant is to figure out what do we do with this, and this is the first value that we've discovered. And as we go into the jungle, we find more produce, and the produce becomes weirder and funkier. Not everything from our jungles that people eat from our jungles actually tastes very good, but some do, and some require you to shift the way that you think. And this is what we call a kulim. It's called Scoridocarpus borneensis, and borneensis means that it comes from Borneo. This is probably the funkiest thing we've ever used in our kitchen. So I take a lot of trips to the jungle, and as I walk through the jungle, one of the aboriginals that we work with pointed out this huge tree, and it smells of roast garlic. Like you're walking and it's like, you know, and you feel like you have someone frying garlic somewhere nearby. And it comes from this massive tree. And the Aboriginals, when they cook with this, they use the leaf, they use the bark, they use the twigs, and they will cook it in bamboo, and it lends this sort of like very pungent, garlicky flavor. When we got this, we were really excited because it's really hard to come by. You have to come and pick it up before the wild boar starts eating it because they like it. So it's a real tough competition. And we brought it back to the kitchen and we tried it. So like every other chef, you take a big slice and you put that in your mouth. Biggest mistake we've made. A small little piece like this would ensure that you will not be kissing anyone that night because it's that pungent. Like having one small bit like that is really, really strong. Oh, wrong one. And then that posed a different mindset because now we've got all these weird things, and then we started looking at different places. Then we started looking at the swamps, and we've got a lot of swamps, and we found this. This is called a buah kalubi, and the kalubi is tastes very, very acidic, and is used as a replacement for tamarind. Again, we were stuck with something that we did not know how to use, and it was very, very, very difficult to get. How do you start to put together the logistics as a restaurant to, if you want to consistently show people a product, if you consistently want to share with people products that come from different locations in your own country, how do you make that work as a business? So this taught us that not everything is possible. This journey of trying to incorporate it into a menu became a lot more difficult because we could not get it consistently, we could not get it all the time, and we had to realize this. So this was the restriction that was very important to us, and that set the mindset of what we do at the restaurant. But then there are also some other stories that are very interesting. This is a dish that we make out of chocolate. And cocoa used to be one of the major exports of our country, and the market dropped, and it became an abandoned crop. But the Temuan people, who are an Aboriginal tribe in a state in Malaysia called Pahang, they had all of these. They had access to all of these trees, to all of these cocoa pods, and it's a wonderful fruit to just eat as a fruit. And they would pop that, and they would eat it, and then they would spit out the seed, and then the seed will be there, and it will germinate, and it starts to grow, and it becomes a tree. And then you had villages all across this area with a lot of cocoa. A friend of mine, who is a chocolate nerd, can I say that? Chocolate nerd? Yeah. Was so interested with it, he started harvesting all of this, and he started making his own chocolate. And now we have a value proposition. It becomes something that was very unique to this specific area, being processed and being made into high quality chocolate. I mean, it's such a high quality chocolate that we use this we have a dish on this particular dish on our menu. We allow him to do whatever he wants with this chocolate. So he processes it sometimes with 36 days cold ferment. I know I'm also getting a bit nerdy now. 36 days cold ferment. He composts it. He ferments it in compost. He's put it into wine barrels, and he's done a lot of stuff. And what we do is we allow him to do whatever he needs to do to make this chocolate better and put this into our menu, and we have a template for it. It has given the chance for this village of Aboriginal people, and it's still very small, but it's given the chance for this village of Aboriginal people to come to be a part of a different ecosystem. So now, before this, they were very separated, and now they're separated because of distance, they're separated because of economic status, they're separated because of the way of life. And now, because of this cocoa, and because it has become chocolate by my friend, and then coming out through the restaurant, it has become a part of a larger ecosphere. And there's a sense of inclusion that happens here. And I'm telling you all of these stories because they're really, really good stories. And maybe I'm not the best storyteller for it. But these stories are stories of lives, and these stories are stories of bringing value where people never saw value, or rather to say people have forgotten what this value is about. Just one quick story before I kind of finish. We did a little dinner with Christian Baumann. Christian Baumann is this crazy chef from Denmark, of 108 Copenhagen. When he came, I took him to every spot I know. We went a little bit into the jungle, we went to see people in the markets, and he was so inspired by the produce that we had in Malaysia that he wanted to do a full vegetarian meal. Now, the guests came, they had their vegetarian meal. We charged quite a bomb for it. But you know, it was interesting because the cuisine was so different. It was something that they've never seen before. And we realized two things. Now, if you want to deliver value, the two things that I kind of learned is, how do you, okay, this was what I was supposed to click on just now. How do you deliver that kind of value? And this kind of, and I read a quote from Christopher Cousteau in his book, specificity is the new luxury, and it comes with an appropriate price point. Understanding that things are no longer global, or sorry, there's some things, that not all things have to be global before it has any significant value. Oh, wait. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I missed a slide. I was supposed to say something else. So there were two things that we oh man, I'm the comic relief. The two things that we learned was this. First, tables that Christian and I went to, and we talked about the produce, and we showed them the raw ingredients. We talked about our journey. We talked about how interesting it was for us. They enjoyed the dinner immensely. They write back and say, "Oh, we had such a great time, blah, blah, blah. You should do this more often." No. But then, because it was a busy service, we missed a couple of tables. There weren't many, but we missed one or two. And those guys were the ones that said, like, "Oh, you know what? We really were disappointed. You know, you only serve the vegetables, and where's the meat, where's the prawns, and stuff like that." So we learned these two things. Was it the guest's fault? No, they had an experience, and that was the experience that they had, and it was bad or good, it was up to them. But the two things that we learned was, first, to share the value, you need to have a certain sense of passion, and passion is very contagious. And it's not just about the cooking or about restaurants. You have to have an overall sense of passion for the people who harvest, who collect, who grow, and the ingredient, and the cooking process, and the whole dining process. All of this has to be something that you can relate to someone else. And that happened when we got so excited about what we were serving. We got so excited about going out into the jungle, seeing the hills, and we told those stories to people, and they caught on, and they felt like, wow, yeah, you know, this is exactly what we should be doing with all restaurants. That's not true, but that's what they felt. The second part of what I learned is that you have to be able to construct and to refine that message that you're sharing with people. If you're not able, it's one thing, and I know for most chefs sometimes we tend to be very introverted with the message that we want to share. And we just say, like, and we assume that everybody's going to get excited over this one chicken, you know, who's fed by hand or something like this. You know, we get excited over an ingredient that we've never seen before. Yes, okay, 1 minute, yeah, good, done. And we get really excited about all of these things, but we're not able to share this with people. And even when we share this with people, we assume that they are going to get excited as well. But how are people going to see value if they can't get excited, and if they just see someone who's excited over there, but it has no relation to them? So what I would like to conclude with is that if this sort of mentality is to grow and to become a viable mentality, and is a mentality and a force, we have to rearrange and configure how we express this in a message, and I think that's very important. So, thank you.